folks, it is I, Goober, your handy guide to all things Fallout and about. Today on this episode will be... What? Wait a minute. Do you hear that? What's all that racket? Not again. Here's your host, RKslade.
Hey, what's up, folks? My name is Russ, also known as RKslade, coming at you with our very first preview episode of Fallout and About. I hope this finds you doing well wherever you might be today, whether it's roaming the wastelands looking for loot or hunkered down in your vault for some nice downtime. In today's episode, we're going to introduce the podcast and tell you a little bit more about myself. Fallout and About is a podcast dedicated to Fallout lore and news. As you know, there's already a great lineup of podcasts out there to choose from, so we hope you enjoy your time with us today while also supporting fellow Fallout and gaming content creators. It's my hope that as we dive into a lot of the backstory of the Fallout universe, hitting key events and stories from the people of Fallout, that you'll appreciate my presentation. There's so much to cover, which is why we love the Fallout universe. So what is it about Fallout that we love so much? I'll pause for a second and let you ponder that. Just take 3 seconds and think about what it is that you love about Fallout. What is it that connects us to the Fallout universe? Are you like me, a gamer who loves big open world games with rich and diverse lore? Did you come from another game franchise into the world of Fallout? My own story is something like this. Back in September of 2018, I began streaming Skyrim. If you're not familiar with Skyrim, it's a wonderful action role-playing game by Bethesda. It's a big open-world single-player RPG that I absolutely love. I've played several games in the Elder Scrolls series. Skyrim is the 5th in that franchise. As I was streaming Skyrim, a lot of my loyal viewers began to recommend another Bethesda franchise called Fallout 4. They said, "You'll love it. It's just like Skyrim, kinda, but set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland." I love post-apocalyptic movies, and at that point I had never played any of the Fallout games. Somehow I missed that whole franchise. But anyways, I jumped into the Fallout series at Fallout 4. I hadn't played any of the other games. By that point, Fallout 4 was over 3 years old, and as I began to stream it, there was a wealth of advice and plenty of tips from my viewers. It was beautiful. They were seeing someone stream a game they loved and seeing through the eyes of someone experiencing it for the first time. It took several hours of play, but eventually I got hooked. I'm admittedly not an OG in the Fallout world, but when I fell hard, kind of like an atomic bomb. Boom. At this point in my gaming journey, I've played most of all of the Fallout games, and I spend most of my Fallout time in the newest game in the franchise, Fallout 76. I know. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to 76, but I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. But let's talk about the actual Fallout universe. Without the backstory, without the lore, we don't have these rich games to experience, right? The world of Fallout is an alternate timeline that diverged from our own universe sometime after World War II. One of the most defining moments of the Fallout universe is the Great War of 2077. That's when all the bombs fell. Up until that time and after World War II, the Fallout universe was basically this really quirky and cool atomic age retro future that was strongly influenced by the vision of the future that science fiction movies and books presented in the 1940s and 50s. Bum, 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 bum. That's kind of what I think about when I when I think about the retro future jet/atomic age of the Fallout universe. It's pretty cool. But this is what I really love about the Fallout universe. It seems like it could be our universe. Sure, it's this kind of ironic satire about the corruption of the American dream, parentheses, American exceptionalism, but it's really only a few degrees away from our world. And I think compared to something like the really fantastical world of Skyrim, Fallout seems so much closer to reality, and that's what I love about it. Don't get me wrong, I love escaping to Tamriel and stealthily shooting my bow through the Thieves Guild questlines. But there's something about exploring the ruins of once existing areas of America that has captivated me with this Fallout series. How about you? What is it that Fallout has that's got you hooked? What is it about those games that you just absolutely love? Since I'm really almost exclusively playing Fallout 76 right now, let's talk about the reasons why I enjoy playing it so much. And this will be a countdown from 5 to number 1.
Number 5.
There is so much to explore. Whether I'm zipping across the map with my speed demon mutation or fast traveling from point to point, there's a lot to explore on this map. Fallout 76 is 4 times larger than Fallout 4's map. Fallout 4 is around 4 square miles. Skyrim's map, which I also absolutely love, is about 14 square miles. So that gives us about 16 square miles in the Fallout 76 map. And believe me, it's a fun map to explore. The different biomes to discover are great. You've got the forest, the toxic valley, the savage divide, the ash heap, the mire, and the cranberry bog. All of these zones have lots of great points of interest to visit and take postcard pics from. I wonder what my favorite part. Probably based on aesthetics alone, my favorite zone in Fallout 76 is probably the mire. I think it's pretty. It's scary, but it's pretty. Do you have a favorite place in the Fallout universe to visit? Out of all the games, not just 76, but out of all the games, do you have a favorite place in the Fallout universe to visit?
Number 4.
Lots to do. Between the actual main quest line and all the side quests, daily quests, events, miscellaneous quests, faction quests, daily challenges, and ally quests, there are hundreds of things to do in this game. I know some of the criticism from early on was that it just seemed empty and there wasn't much to do because there weren't as many human NPCs as some of the previous games that we were used to. But that being said, I think that was the whole point. We can talk about that at a later time, but I think Bethesda actually hit the mark when they released Fallout 76 because they kind of wanted to create this narrative where you emerged from the vault and you were there all alone. You come out of the vault into this world 25 years after the bombs have dropped, and it's lonely. There aren't any other humans really around because you're just a handful of the few that have come out of the vault. But anyways, some of my favorite things to do are from the challenges menu. There are tadpole and possum challenges, which are kind of like an in-game Boy Scouts badge system. Earning those badges is really challenging and rewarding. And of course, there's all the dailies that you can do, the score system with the legendary run that we're right in the middle of right now. I just love all that stuff. I love the daily challenges. As simple as they might be, I love the sense of progress and completion that I get when I get to tick those off. What is your favorite type of progression, challenge, or quest to do in this type of game? It doesn't have to be just be Fallout, but what do you like to do in these big MMOs or these RPGs? What gives you a sense of completion?
Number 3.
Is this creative camp designs and builds. So one of my favorite things to do in big open world games is create. I mean, plain and simple, I just enjoy being creative. It can be character creation, terraforming, maybe through Minecraft or something. Skyrim, I love the character creator. There's a couple of other games, that I don't play that much, but I really enjoy the creation process. In Dragon Age Inquisition, I just really love creating the characters in that game. The gameplay, not so much, but I love the character creation, which is kind of funny. In Fallout 76, one of my favorite things to do is think through and implement a fun camp design, which is your base, your camp, your settlement. Fallout 76 has a great base building system, and as your character progresses through the game, or as you accrue in-game currency called caps, you can acquire more and more plans to build different parts of your camp. Those will also be rewarded, for quests and missions and stuff like that, or you can buy them from vendors or other players. It's pretty cool. But you don't just start off with all the tools or all the pieces, all of the recipes, if you will, to just build a mega base, with all the aesthetics and stuff. You kind of have to earn your way through it, whether it's by questing or buying it. But speaking of buying it, there also is kind of a microtransaction currency, Fallout 76, if you want to call it that. It's called the Atom. And so the Atom store has lots of kind of cool pieces of camp buildings or camp skins or styles or appliances, all these different types of things that you can put in your camp. And you can pay for that with real money. You buy atoms. It's kind of like V-Bucks in Fortnite, or you can buy lots of these aesthetic skins, wraps, and wallpapers for your character or base. So building these bases is really, really fun. I think I have one main character on PlayStation 4 and one character on Xbox that I primarily play those two characters on stream. And the Xbox character is fairly new, so the base is like really Spartan and really basic and simple. And so it's like basically a 4-wall hut, with a sleeping bag on the floor and maybe a workshop or something, but that's about it. My PlayStation 4 character is somewhere around 115, I think, 114, 115 level, which is still pales in comparison to some of these OGs that have been playing since day one. But I love building my base, and on my PlayStation character, I've spent many hours perfecting my base and getting it just right, only to find a better location, to move it and to redesign it, and to find another location and redesign it and move it, and so the cycle goes. But I absolutely love it. It's not a hassle. It's actually a joy for me because it's part of the creative aspect of the game that I love. So that's number 3, this kind of creative expression outlet that we're given through camp designs and builds. I really enjoy that. Have you seen some good base and settlement builds in the Fallout universe? Could be Fallout 4, could be Fallout 76. Number 2 out of the 5 top reasons that I love Fallout 76 is this: character loadouts and builds. Talking about creativity, this kind of just flows right into that. One thing I love in any RPG or MMORPG is being free to customize my character build the way that I like it. I'm not a fan of really narrow options as far as the actual character creator goes, and the actual build out or the loadout, if you will. I don't like to be forced to go in a certain direction. Some big RPG games, you don't have that many choices. You can't really customize. Usually when I feel kind of pigeonholed in a game like that, I don't last very long in a game like that. And so I move to something else. In Fallout 76, what I really enjoy about it, most of the Bethesda games of late, I really enjoy about this is this. If I want to build a stealthy shotgunner, which in all practicality doesn't make any sense, a stealthy shotgunner, but if I want to build a stealthy shotgunner, I can do so. Or a tanky sniper, or a powerful ranged character who only uses a slingshot. I want lots of options and I want to test them out. Some games kind of force you into pretty standard mold, but I like being able to use Fallout 76 perk system to build out my character the way I want to. And the reason that I really love it is because you're not forced, once you equip something or once you choose a certain path as far as your build goes, you don't have to stay that way forever. And I really enjoy that. I love that once you select a perk card and equip it, you're not locked into that. You can actually move cards around. Need your character to be a little more stealthy for something? As long as you have the actual perk cards, you can unequip the others and put the stealth cards in. Need to increase your strength? After level 50, you can actually move around your special points as well. Each of those letters is an attribute category that you can put perk cards into as long as there are points assigned to that category. The higher in level you go, the more flexible you can be with your build. I love that because I can play around with my primary build and actually shift it to something else as long as I have the cards. Don't get me wrong though, I love the character creation too, but instead of having to create a new character and power level them all the way to a decent level, I can just experiment with my main tune. It's great. Now, I think because of the way that system is set up, you're obviously going to have a lot of standardized builds that kind of become popular. They rise to the top, because lots of folks want to do things a certain way. You talk about your stealth builds or your bloodied builds or, these different types of builds, melee builds or ranged builds. There's obviously stereotypes and kind of categories that rise to popularity because they're very practical. Now, there's nothing wrong with any of those. I love all of those, but I've always been kind of an impractical, unorthodox kind of a build guy. So my latest character, who actually is my main character, is, I was joking earlier about the stealthy shotgunner, but that's in essence what he is. Mr. Slade on PS4, he is a stealthy shotgunner, which obviously gets a little interesting when I'm hidden with my Chinese stealth armor and totally just hidden from any enemies that might aggro on me or attack me until I shoot my gun, and then it's all over. Feral ghouls are the worst, usually. Those are the ones that give me the most heartache and trouble. Here I am, sneaking stealthily. The White Springs Golf Clubhouse. They'll never know I'm here. Now they all know I'm here, and they all 20 of them run upstairs or downstairs or wherever I am and converge on me, and I have to run away. I have to do it. But it's fun. And so that's the good thing about power armor. I usually throw out my power armor, which is an excavator set. I love the excavator set. I can usually kind of hold my own after that point. But again, you're going to do what you're going to do and have fun with the way you're going to have fun. So it's maybe not the most optimal build, but that's the second out of my top 5. That's the second reason. I just love that I can do that. I love playing around with character loadouts and builds. What is the most unusual character build you've ever had?
And without further ado, I give you number 1.
I actually already kind of hit on it a little bit, but this is it. My number 1 reason that I love Fallout 76, and I guess in general, the Fallout franchise, the story and lore. That's it. The backstory, the lore, all of the events, the world of Fallout. I'm so intrigued by it. And this is one of the reasons I love Skyrim, is because of all the story and lore. I have read countless wiki entries and listened to hours and hours of podcasts on lore and story. Enter Fallout. I started playing Fallout not too long ago after I started streaming Skyrim in 2018. I will have to admit, Fallout 4, that's the first game I played, it didn't really grab me at first, but as I played, little by little, I started getting more and more interested in the backstory. The game was fun, but the story, not the story of my character even, but the story of the world, the story of the universe of Fallout just really started kind of getting its hooks in me. I began to dig a little into it. Before I knew it, like I said, I was hooked. What I love about the Fallout universe is that it feels like it could be our universe. I mean, up until somewhere between the end of World War II and 1960, it basically is our universe. Then the Fallout universe diverges from ours. Call that the Great Divergence. Or the Divergence. I can't remember. I think it's just the Divergence. But I like great too. It sounds great. Greatly. I'm grateful that it sounds great.
Oh, brother.
There are a few degrees of difference, mostly having to do with the Fallout universe not pushing as hard as we did into miniaturized electronics research and staying more with jet and atomic age kind of technology. That's kind of why it has this like retro future kind of Jetsons / floating cars and robots and stuff. You know what I'm talking about, that kind of retro future feel. But I think that's what I love about it. This kind of quirky future of the 40s and 50s worldview that the Fallout universe pretty much got stuck in all the way up until when the bombs dropped. And so you fast forward to now, and I have read countless wiki entries and listened to hours of lore podcasts for Fallout. And you know, there are some great Fallout podcasts out there, and Elder Scrolls lore podcasts out there too. And I listen to them anytime I'm in the car by myself. I'm listening to that sort of stuff. It's really good because I'm hooked. One of my favorite things to do is go to a wiki like fallout.fandom.com and search for the current date. Like today, whatever today's date is, I will go and I'll go to the fallout.fandom.com, and then instead of searching for like, oh, I need the recipe for cranberry relish, which I often forget. But what I'll do is I'll go and type in July 30th, not the year, just the date. And then you'll get this search result that comes up with, I mean, it'll be a long list, but the top 2 or 3, sometimes 0, but the top 2 or 3 could be events that happen sometime within the Fallout universe. Sometimes it's events that happen in our universe too, because it's before the divergence. For example, in the Fallout universe and in our universe, there is sometime in July, there's a bomber plane that crashes in Lake Mead. And we know that from Fallout New Vegas, there is a bomber that has already crashed. I don't remember the exact date. I think it's in the 40s, the late 40s, 1948, sometime in there. This bomber crashes into Lake Mead. Well, you know what? In our universe, in the real world, if you will, this is true. It's a true story. There is still the remains, the ruins of the wreck, I guess, of the bomber at the bottom of Lake Mead. And it's actually a nationally recognized historical place of interest. I can't remember the official, like, it's on the registry, but it's in New Vegas too, and it's kind of part of the game. And so I like to go and see, oh, okay, well, that's cool. That actually happened in our world because it was before the divergence. But then we can go after the divergence and we can find events like, for example, probably the most famous event in the Fallout universe is the Great War 2077 in October, when the bombs dropped and it drastically changed everything in the world. There is no Fallout without that event, the Great War. Anyways, and so, we'll say we're in April the 13th, type it in, and you find, one or two events, and some of them are big events in the world, and some of them are just diary entries or journal entries or terminal entries from this research or this college student at Vaultech University. And I love just kind of digging into it. And what I typically do on Facebook is, if it's something that I can create a little post around, I'll either create a character if it doesn't exist, or I'll use the character, for example, that maybe it's a personal diary entry. We'll kind of create a little, just, 3 or 4 paragraph little blurb that paints the picture of that little story. And so I just love it. And I love the lore. I love the dates. I love everything that's going on. It's really, really cool. Is there anything that you really find intriguing about the entirety of the Fallout universe? Like, when you think about it as a whole, what really intrigues you about it? Well, that was my top 5. You guys know I am hooked on Fallout in general, but these days, Fallout 76. Those were the top 5 things. And I look forward to creating more content for the community in the future. You can expect these episodes to cover Fallout events, news reports from within the universe, Fallout 76 news, maybe even future game news, and hopefully a lot of fun and engaging content. You can find me streaming games like Fallout 76, Red Dead Redemption, Skyrim, and other big open world games over on facebook.com/RKslade Gaming. My name is Russ, also known as RKslade. Thank you so much for joining me for today's Fallout and About. I hope to see you next time.
Oh, it's me. The little red light is on. That means it's not recording. It is recording. Oh, you didn't tell me. What? I am flabbergasted. A nuclear bomb right now?